Right now, Joe Biden, as well as a number of people not in the Democratic primary, are pressuring Bernie Sanders to drop out, and certainly not to have anything like debates or anything like that. Regrettably, this weekend, Larry David called for Bernie Sanders to drop out. So we go now to Hillary Clinton back in a previous election that she was running in. What did she think about calls for candidates to drop out before they believed their path to the nomination was closed?
Honestly, I mean, I just believe that this is the most important job in the world. It's the toughest job in the world. You should be willing to campaign for every vote. You should be willing to debate anytime, anywhere. I think it's an interesting juxtaposition where we find ourselves. And, I have been willing to do all of that during the entire process. And people have been trying to push me out of this ever since Iowa. And
Why?
I find that I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. I find it curious because it is unprecedented in history. I don't understand it. And between my opponent and his camp and some in the media, there has been this urgency to end this. And historically that makes no sense. So I find it a bit of a mystery.
You don't buy the party unity argument?
I don't, because again, I've been around long enough. My husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June. Right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. I don't understand it. And, there's lots of speculation about why it is, but...
What's your speculation?
I don't know. I find it curious.
Okay, so there's a lot of issues there. But you should be willing to fight for every vote. You should be able to debate every debate. I'm sure she's telling that to Joe Biden on the phone right now. But why would you be pushed out before at least mid-June, maybe? So, according to that, we've still got a couple months, potentially, of Bernie Sanders fighting for every vote, engaging in every debate, pushing for the policies that he thinks the country needs. And, we put this out here as if people are going to realize the hypocrisy of what they're doing, but I have a feeling that's probably not going to happen.
No, and I mean, she did even mention that, Bobby Kennedy was killed in June, right, during his run. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, these are morbid scenarios playing out. But again, I do think if we have two septuagenarians, people in their 70s, running in this race, we should keep them in for as long as possible, because there is a killer virus that is just glomming on to the elderly. So listen, stay in the race. And again, if Clinton were running right now, she would absolutely still be in the race. I have no doubt that she would be in the race. If she was trailing, she would stay in it. And I just want to say to those folks who think that this is not democracy, or that's, somehow that Bernie should drop out because we have to pull together and get behind Biden. That isn't democracy. That actually, if you're scared, I will remind you that in 2016, Bernie was there at the convention. Hillary was there at the convention. There was good tension between both camps. There wasn't animosity. No one was hurting each other. There was a healthy tension. It's almost like a democratic tension. And that, I think, is important. We're going to need that if we actually are ever going to make any change in this country. You're going to need people pushing from the outside. And of course, I think coming together to avoid what will absolutely be, I don't know, the next ring of hell, if we can get there with 4 more years of Trump. But until that point, I think it's important to actually maintain healthy dialogue and tension and debate. And Bernie should absolutely stay in the race.
Yeah. And the concerns about party unity, she said she doesn't buy that. You never know what could happen, as you pointed out. Super morbid. And I remember at the time, I didn't like her raising that because it seemed like she was sort of implying, hey, Obama could get assassinated in the next 2 months, right. Which seems like a really weird thing. Yeah, anything's possible. We live in America where, at least half the country harbors fantasies of potentially killing the opposition politicians. That doesn't mean we should necessarily be talking about it, but This is a pandemic after all. So if she believed that then, she must think there's potentially health reasons that this thing might not be wrapped up. And anyway, and I would say even more importantly, one of the reasons I want to talk about this was to plug my recent op-ed in The Hill, which came out yesterday. And
Hey.
it is does Joe Biden even really want to become president? And I look at the evidence as to whether he actually wants to be president. And I think that him wanting to shut down debates and effectively wrap this thing up proves that he doesn't. Because we're in a time right now where, look at our rundown. 95% of the news is about coronavirus, okay? That means that normally the presidential candidate would be talked about a lot. That's not going to happen right now. Literally, the only way that they're going to get any coverage on a week-to-week basis is with debates, with primaries that will draw a little bit of attention to the Democratic side. If they shut it down, there will be nothing. You will hear virtually nothing about Joe Biden if he's the nominee for the next 3 or 4 months. How can he possibly hope to win when no one is talking about him? If you believe that you're the candidate, if you believe that you have the right policies, get on the stage with Bernie Sanders or virtually. They can do it by Zoom or whatever and debate him, and at least you'll get some attention to your side. You will have a fighting chance to win, but he doesn't want to do that, and that proves to me that maybe he'd like to be president, but he doesn't want to fight to become president. He's not willing to do even the normal thing that we do every 4 years to become the nominee.
Exactly. And I also just want to add, yes, John, let's all read John's op-ed in The Hill and share it widely. And also all of the centrist Democrats who were running for president and then endorsed Joe Biden, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Cory Booker, Andrew Yang, like, where are they? Are they stumping for him on Zoom? Like, where have they been? That's a good question. If they believe that Joe Biden is the best chance at beating Trump, I want to hear from them every single day to make their case. I haven't heard him at all.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.